If you were plummeting to the ground at unimaginable speed, would you wax poetic or simply say, oh crap? Hey y'all, Beth with Dots and Beyond here. It is time for another Plan With Me video. This time we'll be setting up March in my work journal. Yes, I do keep two separate journals for a myriad of different reasons. One of them being that I do fill up my work journal much more quickly than my personal journal, and the other being for confidentiality, meetings with clients, notes, that sort of a thing. But I do like to have fun with both of them. So in my work journal for 2021, I am celebrating some of my favorite science fiction movies, television shows, and books. And this one falls into all of those categories. This is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I'm going to be using some Pigma Microns. I have purchased some Amazon Basics, which is the dupe of the Tombow dual brush pen, and they do an excellent job. Actually, the brush tip I think is a little bit more stiff than the Tombow, but they do a great job. We're going to find out in this setup if they are as pigmented as the Tombows when you color. And then I have my Uniball Signo gel pen set. I'll be using the white, the gold, and the silver, and those do come in a 3-pack both on Amazon and at Walmart. Of course, I will link all of the supplies that I'm using in the description box below, but let's go ahead and get started. As usual, I have sketched everything out beforehand. I am more comfortable doing that. And then I will be starting off with my .05 Pigma Micron. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know this is my go-to pen. I use it for most of my medium weight line work, and it is also my daily writing pen. If you're not familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it is the story of Arthur Dent, who simply is trying to keep his house from being bulldozed here on Earth when he is whisked away to space by a friend. Earth is annihilated, and then he spends the rest of the time searching through the stars for the meaning of life or something like that. It was originally a radio show with the BBC, and then it was turned into a book and a television show and of course a movie, and now we have another television show coming in 2022. I have chosen one of the funniest and my most favorite moments from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for this cover page. Our hero is traveling through the stars when 2 missiles are fired at him, and via the infinite improbability drive, those 2 missiles are turned into a whale and some petunias, and they begin to fall towards the planet below them. And while they are falling, the whale begins to ponder the meaning of life and wax poetic about all of the things, and the petunias simply say, "Oh no, not again." And you have to wonder, how many times has this happened to these poor petunias? The part of the whale's monologue that I have included is, "Hey, what's this thing suddenly coming towards me very fast? Very, very fast. So big and flat and round. It needs a big, wide-sounding name like ow, ound, round, ground. That's it. That's a good name, ground. I wonder if it will be friends with me." And we all know, of course, that ground is not going to be very friendly. Here I'm getting those words sketched in, and I do want to talk about that black Amazon Basics Tombow dupe. I do find, even with the Tombows, to get a good solid black, I've done enough of these space themes now, that you do need to go over it at least twice to sort of take out some of the streakiness. I did that with the Amazon Basics as well, and it worked, I think, almost as well as the Tombow. I don't think it is quite as dark as the Tombow is, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get our space symbols in here. So I'm just using some dots, some swirls, some stars, both white, silver, and gold to get that space effect before moving on to the next page. The spread on this page will be my calendar. I have chosen for March to go the traditional grid calendar route. I normally do a linear calendar down the middle of the page and write events on one side and meetings on the other side. But I've decided to go ahead and give this calendar a try this month and see if it works for me. Now, when I did sketch it out, I did have it in squares. And while I was putting pen to paper, I decided to just leave the horizontal line separating the dates of the calendar and to not block it off with complete squares as well. In here, I am sketching in another character from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is Marvin, the paranoid android. And he is exactly what he says. He is probably the most paranoid and pessimistic character in all of science fiction. And the quote that I put on the page from Marvin is, "This will all end in tears." If you watched my last video, you know we had some pretty unusual weather over the last few weeks, and I did release that video a little bit late, and so this is the second video I have going up this week. So go ahead and go back and check out that video. That is my fierce fictional female for March. That is my theme for 2021 in my personal journal, and I chose Daenerys from Game of Thrones for this month. But it has taken me quite some time with the challenges of the weather to get both of these videos up. And so what you're going to see here in just a minute is an actual outfit change to finish this video on a completely different day. So as they would say in Hitchhiker's Guide, don't panic. Here we are, 2 days later, completely different outfit change, and we're just going to keep on keeping on. This next spread will have my goals or my focuses for the month on the left side, and then across part of the left and then the right side will be what I call my work tracker, work stress tracker, work-life balance. I'll explain it as we go along and show you a sample of the January one that is completely filled out. Essentially, I am an event manager. We've not had that many events obviously taking place with the pandemic, but my state has never quite fully closed, so there are some things that we have managed to socially distance and still make those events take place. And so I have regular office days that I work. I have a manager on duty days when I have an event. I now have work from home days, obviously, because we try to limit how many people are in the office at a time. And so this is how I track what hours I am working. When I do have an event, those hours can vary pretty wildly. My office days or work from home days typically are just sort of an 8:30 to 5, 9 to 5 situation. But this is how I track that. While I get some of the artwork from the book and some other doodles onto this page, let me explain that graph a little bit better. So across the bottom of the page, I do have the days of the month from 1 to 31, and then the bar graph up the left side is the hours of the day from 5 a.m. until 1 a.m. And yes, I can work any number of hours in that time range, which is why I like to track that. And then I highlight 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. to indicate my stress levels on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'm going to flip over to January and show you guys what that looks like completed. The lines are my working hours. The squiggly line is my stress levels up and down through the course of the month. In January, I had the days down the right and the hours at the top, but it works the same way. As I mentioned, some of these doodles come directly from the book cover. That planet with his tongue sticking out definitely does. Here is the symbol for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, another random planet. And then, of course, I had to include the number 42, which according to the Hitchhiker's Guide is the meaning of life. It is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Nobody really knows what the question is, but that is the answer that a computer called Deep Thought came up with over 7.5 million years of analyzing whatever the question was. Alright, now we've finished that page, got my space doodles in, and we are going to flip over to my log and my brain dump or inbox. The log is essentially a pep talk that I write to myself at the beginning of every month, sort of looking back at the month before and what worked and what didn't work. And then my inbox, like I said, is my brain dump page. I just really don't like the phrase brain dump. And then the fourth novel in the Hitchhiker's Guide series is titled So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. And this illustration based on that title and parts of the novel series where the dolphins, and of course dolphins we think might actually be as smart as we are, choose to leave Earth before its annihilation, and they stop and thank us for all of the fish along the way. I was able to find a lot of various dolphin shapes on just a basic Google search in order to copy those and get various positions of the dolphins. And then here I'm coloring in our globe. I've decided to do that in gold. I did grow up in Kenya, and so I am partial to Africa, and if I ever draw a globe, I tend to make sure Africa is facing forward. I'm going to give these dolphins just a little touch of gray color, and then this page will be done, and I will move on to the first weekly for March. With the exception of holiday weeks, I have been using basically the same weekly setup for about a year now. Sometimes I change where I put the elements, but otherwise it's the same. So here on the left, I do have a mini calendar. I will also leave space below it for my 2 focuses or my 2 goals, so I know what those are for the week. And then next to that, on that same left page, I have my rolling task list. Which is adapted from the Alistair method. And then on the right, I leave a full column for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a column for Saturday and a half a column for Sunday. I do work enough weekends that I do need to keep those with enough space to write in or fill in some things to do for those days as well. With that particular setup and leaving enough space for me to write, about the only place I can fit in any doodles or thematic elements for the month is across the bottom. I do typically do this for the first week of the month. I am busy enough that sometimes the following weeks don't necessarily get a proper setup artistically. I will set it up exactly the same way, but it doesn't necessarily get the doodles or the fun stuff. I will make sure and link the green circle stencil in the description box below, along with everything else that I am using in this video. That particular stencil I picked up at Office Depot in the early days of my bullet journaling. I don't necessarily reach for it as often as I used to. I also have a Helix circle maker, which I got from Amazon, which I do use more often, but I do keep the green one handy just in case I need it. Here I'm stenciling in a little circle that I will just put the days of the week in, the actual date. I definitely do not trust myself when it comes to freehanding circles. And as you can tell, sometimes I get the journal closer and closer to the bottom of the frame. This is from pulling it closer to me in order to avoid getting my head in the shot, but I always find it and fix it. For writing the tiny dates, I do switch to a 0.03. That's about as small as I really want to go. I do have smaller tipped Pigma Microns, but that typically works for me. And then I never write in all of the days in pencil. I know where the first is, and then down that column I will write 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29. And that's how I know where to put my days. And then I also do put the weeks on my mini calendar, so that's what that line on the right side is for, is so that I can separate the days from the week numbers. And just a quick tip, if you're an iPhone user, it probably works with other smartphones as well. I start my weeks on a Monday. You can change the settings on your phone calendar to also start on a Monday or Sunday if that's your preference, and you can also choose to have the calendar show you what week it is. So on my phone calendar there is a small number on each week in gray so that my bullet journal and my phone calendar match. Here I am writing the quote that I'm going to put across the bottom after I color it in to go along with my representation of our solar system, and that quote is from the beginning of Hitchhiker's Guide, which reads, "The story so far. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people angry and been widely regarded as a bad move." Some might find that quote a little sacrilegious. I did grow up in a faith-based home, but I still find it hilarious. Of course, for cohesion, I have used a sort of splooshy space theme on every page, and I'm doing that here. And then up at the top, I do leave 3 spots for events and 3 spots for appointments. And then I have a space with a line below each of the dates where I can write in any additional pertinent information or notes for that day. Here I decided to go ahead and color in our sun gold. I had a little bit of trouble with that. I think my gold paint pen is going out. Added some gray to these planets, some of Saturn's rings, and then I'm going to put in that universe quote. What I do forget is to come along and put in my stars and dots to simulate the space theme, and I do catch that before the flip through and come back and fix it. And here is the complete flip through for March in my work journal. As you can see, I did come along and color in this whale gray. I just felt like there was a little too much white on the page. But otherwise, I am very happy with how this setup turned out. I'm always up for a good space theme, which is one of the reasons I chose science fiction and fantasy films for 2021 in my work journal to begin with. I appreciate you guys watching and sticking with me through this. Now that our weather woes are past, I should be back on my regularly scheduled posting each Friday. I sure hope you take the time to subscribe and follow along in both my Fierce Fictional Female Challenge as well as my science fiction themes in my 2 different journals. I do have some additional content coming up. I'm planning to set up a brand journal for my Dots and Beyond brand, so if you're interested in how you might want to have a brand or company journal, stay tuned. That one should be coming soon. If you made it this far, please leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite science fiction film, book, or television show is. I'd love to hear those. And if they have particular moments that are funny or full of puns, give me your favorite quote from that particular medium as well. Maybe I will add it to my list for 2021. Quick reminder that you can also follow me on Instagram at Dots and Beyond as well. And if you missed January and February setups, know that January was the movie Arrival, and February I had a great time with some hilarious Star Wars Valentine's puns. Link those up in the cards above. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.